Hey guys, I'm back with College Chaos. This is your host, Kailee. I'm excited to have another episode that you guys have all been waiting for. We're going to talk all things finances and what it means to be a college student and how finances work. I'm excited to bring on a guest, Madison Walker from the Texas Tech University Financial Office. She's an advisor. Thank you, Madison, for coming on the show and talking all things that everyone wants questions on with finances.
Of course, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to share some information that hopefully is going to help out some parents, students, incoming, current students. So hopefully we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff that applies to each person.
So I want to just say thank you so much for coming on to the show. I know when we talked about prior to the show, just all the financial questions and everyone sitting on the phone line, super frustrated and sometimes doesn't even get their questions answered. So today I want to run through everything that students are just dying to know, all things finances and how they work as a college student. And this is for anyone that's still in college or even a grad student. So first, I want to start off with the lovely FAFSA. So if you can let everyone know how that works and what to just look forward to just being able to go on and be able to know like what to do with the form and as your side as an advisor, how that works.
Sure. Okay, so the FAFSA, that is the free application for federal student aid. So what this is going to be is an application. It's something that you go and complete online. You can do a paper copy if you want to, but online is probably the best option. It's going to be FAFSA.gov. And what it's going to be is an online application. It's going to ask you to create a username, ID, and password. So as a student, you're going to create that. Now with this application, it's going to ask for student information. It's also going to ask for parent information. And that's a question we get a lot in the financial aid office is, can I just put student information? Do I have to put my parents' information? Of course, it's a question that has a lot of different aspects to it. What I would say is if you are a student, it doesn't matter if your parents claim you or didn't claim you on your taxes. It also, unfortunately, doesn't matter if parents actually are going to contribute to education costs and paying the bill, things like that. What it's going to come down to is information about you as a student. And it's going to look at information like, do you have dependents of your own children? You're taking care of family members. Are you married? Do you have an instance of neglect or abuse? Were you in the foster care system? Those are the type of aspects that the Department of Education looks at when they consider you an independent versus dependent student. Most of the time, we do see students adding parent information on the FAFSA. But if you are part of one of those categories, you don't have to put parent information. And when you go through that application process, it will guide you with those questions. So it will kind of let you know if you are independent or dependent. It will ask specific questions about you as a person to kind of decide where you lie if you're independent versus dependent and what information you're going to add to the application. As for like the application itself and what it's going to ask for income information. It's going to ask about any assets, benefits, your family size, how many in your family are currently going to college. So those are the different types of questions that you're going to see when you complete the FAFSA. Just a tip, it is going to ask if you want to link it with the IRS, and it's called the data retrieval tool. And what that means, it's going to link the income and the information from your taxes from 2 years prior. So for example, for this upcoming year, 2021, 2022, it's going to look at 2019 tax information. If you can link it, that's the best way to do it because automatic. It's going to be straight from the IRS. But I know some people have issues with linking it. And sometimes it's the system. Things just don't work out as smoothly as we want them to. And you can input your information if that's the case. I recommend having your 1040s there with you because that makes it easier to fill it out. Because that application, it can be a little hefty. It feels like a lot of personal information that you're sharing on an application, but it's the application that lets us know at the school what you're going to be eligible for as a student. Without that application, we don't have any type of foundation to look at. So that's why we say it's the first step in financial aid, because with that application, that lets us know everything about the student and the family, the situation, so we can see what they're eligible for financial aid.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I know FAFSA is a pain. Everyone tries to fill it out every year. And I know that it's very beneficial. Is there anything for like first generation students, how that works, or if anything on that maybe you have?
Yes, so for first generation students, I know that a lot of the questions that the FAFSA is going to ask, it's all going to feel new, especially since you are first generation. You didn't have your parents that went to school or filled, and maybe they didn't even fill out a FAFSA because FAFSA is something that's relatively new. In the past, things weren't always electronic and going through the system. So
very
it's definitely
paperless.
Exactly. So it's different. It's different for a lot of people in their situations in completing the application. Some people don't have easy contact with their parents. And in situations like that, I would suggest, especially if you're in high school, if you could talk to your high school counselor to see if they can help you complete the FAFSA and at least gather parent information. And so they don't have to be sitting right beside you filling it out, but at least you have their information to complete it on your own with someone you trust, like the counselor, or maybe you have a family friend or someone close to you that could help you complete the application. Of course, in financial aid as an advisor, we can help you complete applications. We do FAFSA nights in high schools. Also, though, if you're currently in school and you're continuing the FAFSA, it's something you do every year on October 1st. So it's not just one application, one time. We're going to make you do it every single year.
I almost missed that deadline all the time.
Yes.
It's a very
it feels like you just got everything done. August is here. You're in your classes. You're like, finally. Yes. And then October comes and we're like, get ready for next year.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels a little bit overwhelming. But if you can find someone to help you complete the application, I think that takes a lot of the stress out of it. I do know also on Texas Tech, we do have a program for first generation students. I think it's the transition and mentoring program. So if they do want to seek those resources on campus too, if they're at Tech, I'm sure they would be happy to help as well. So you can reach out to our financial aid office, help completing the FAFSAs if you've never done it before. We do Zoom appointments, phone calls, because I know with things being online and not so much in person, we can still help you complete the FAFSA. So it's really just reaching out and then seeing if you can find someone you trust or someone that knows the information that can help you complete it. Because it can be done in about 30 minutes and an hour. Especially if someone's helping you that has been through it before. I've helped plenty of students complete the FAFSA. I've done it as a student. I know sometimes it can be like pulling teeth trying to get parent information to do the FAFSA.
Like sections and like so much. And I know like I'm a first generation student, so shout out to everyone I know the struggle with that. And when my parents and I sat down to complete it, I just felt like we didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to go. It was all new. And I know like having people like Madison just be able to guide you and navigate how to fill out that form. That's all we need. Just that little push and we can get it done. And that leads me to Madison and I talked about this. You guys can get money from FAFSA, which is really neat. So when you fill that out, it's not just like a form that doesn't do anything for you. So Madison, if you want to also touch base on that, how you can actually get money from the FAFSA application.
Of course. So yes, there is a reason we're making you fill out this form. And I say making, you do have the choice to fill it out. You don't have
Yeah.
to, but you're putting yourself in the best position possible when you do. Because like Kailee said, there are opportunities for grants, loans, and different scholarship opportunities, work study. That all comes from that application. So when you fill it out, like I said, it asks about income, assets, benefits, family size. It has all these different aspects in this application. And what the Department of Ed does is it gathers that information and they have what's called an expected family contribution. That is an index number that the schools use to determine the student's financial aid eligibility. So basically what that is the schools will receive that EFC or expected family contribution, and that lets us know what the student's eligible for. So there's a couple different types of aid that you can receive. There's need-based aid and there's also non-need-based aid. So with need-based aid, that's going to be like grants or work study opportunities. And there's also a certain loan that goes into the need-based, which is called a subsidized loan. And there's also non-need-based aid. So some scholarships are non-need-based. Also, the unsubsidized student loan is going to be non-need-based. And the difference between those two, I'll just say real quick, as far as the student loans, subsidized does not accrue interest while you're in school. The government's paying that interest on that loan, but it is only for students who have room for need-based aid, again, based on that FAFSA. The unsubsidized loan does start accruing interest while you're in school. So that's something important to know, the difference of those two and how it correlates with the FAFSA and the information that's added on there. And with grants, those are free money. You don't have to pay those back.
That's what everyone needs to be listening to right here.
That is the one that we want to look at first is that the grant opportunities. So that's part of the need-based aid. There's different types of grants. So you can see federal grants, institutional grants, and state grants. Now, they all have their own guidelines and rules and regulations that go with them, but that's for us to figure out in the financial aid office. That's not something you worry about as a student. What you need to do is fill out the application. And also when you fill it out, try to get it done by the priority deadline. That's super important. And at Texas Tech, we have a priority deadline of January 15th. So the FAFSA opens every October 1st. January 15th is our priority deadline. You can do it after, but there are certain grants that are first come, first serve. And examples of those are going to be the state. Yes, and that's something a lot of people miss out on.
I didn't even know that. That's really cool. Like, so is it by like first person that fills in the form could probably get a priority over someone that turned it in like later down the road? Okay.
Correct. So they could have the same. Cool. They could have the same eligibility, but the difference could be in when you completed the form. So one example would be a student that completed the FAFSA by January 15th. They have all their information in and they receive maybe a TTU grant or a Texas grant. And then there could be another student that doesn't complete things until, we'll say, October. And by that time, we may not have funding for the TTU grant or Texas grant. So that's funding that we receive as the university or from the actual state. And we only have a certain amount of that funding. And if we see you have your FAFSA on file, we see, oh, this student's eligible for this grant, we're going to go ahead and award it. But then by the time, even if you are eligible but don't have your stuff until later, you might be eligible for the grant, but we don't have any more funding to even be able to award.
So y'all even like run out eventually, even if someone is able to get one, but they turned it in later.
Yes, and that's a big difference that we see. And a lot of people may get a grant one year and then the next year not receive it. And they say, what happened? Why didn't I get the exact same amount, the exact same grant? And it's for that reason mainly. Now, there are certain grants that have their own requirements. Like I said, one example is Texas grant, and we do have that posted on our financial aid webpage, requirements. But some of them require you to have a certain GPA, a certain number of hours that you complete each year to receive it in years going forward. So one thing that's important with your financial aid package, seeing what you have. seeing what types of awards that you've been awarded. So for example, a federal Pell Grant, that's a grant awarded from Department of Education. It's federal, completely based off the FAFSA. Those amounts are strict federal guidelines. The state grants can be a little different. So if you have a Texas grant, make sure to keep up with those renewability requirements. A TTU grant, you do have to be in a certain number of hours to have that. And we do have that in terms and conditions as well. So when you go onto your rater link, this is for Texas Tech specifically, but when you, before you can even accept your awards, you do have to at least accept the terms and conditions to show that you've read them, you understand that certain grants do have certain requirements that you do have to follow. So if you're ever questioning, I'm not sure if this grant, I need to do something to receive it in the future, or what is this grant? Where does it come from? You can always ask us and we can let you know exactly what it is.
So that leads me to the biggest thing that we all have questions on is unfortunately when COVID hit and it financially took a toll on a lot of families, even personally my family. What do you guys do to help students out still to this day since we're in that time frame? I know I was very blessed and my tuition was paid for this semester, but guys, I want to say that's through me filling out not just FAFSA, but doing scholarships, taking the extra steps and getting those grants and Pell Grants. So Madison, my question to you is, what is y'all's goal to help kids with just not just FAFSA, but financial aid, and what can students do to reach where they're able to get money and not be struggling? Because I know we talked about just knowing your resources is so crucial being in college. So if you can let everyone know what, during COVID, what financially are you guys able to do for college students at Texas Tech?
Right, that is a good question, and it's something that I see every day as a financial aid advisor. Every student has their own story, their own situation that they're going through. And one thing that we do have at Texas Tech is called a special circumstance form. So this is a form that is for students who have a special circumstance. So for example, maybe there was major medical bills paid out of pocket. Maybe a parent lost a job, or there was a major reduction of their income. Maybe a parent has passed away. Going back to that FAFSA, I had mentioned it uses 2019 taxes, what they call prior. So 2 years before is the taxes that they use. There is a reason they do that. They used to do prior, but some people hadn't finished their taxes, so they decided to go 2 years prior, so people would have more opportunities to complete the FAFSA. But that brings a challenge in, what if my situation's not the same as 2 years ago? And that's something we definitely saw with COVID. There was a lot of people that lost their jobs, that were hospitalized, just different situations for different families. And with that special circumstance form, it is on our financial aid webpage. You can always go to financialaid.ttu.edu. And it's a form that you complete, and you will attach certain documents. But that gives us a better idea of what your financial situation is now compared to 2 years ago, and what the taxes from the FAFSA told us. So, of course, 2 years ago, mom may have had a full income. She had a job. Things are going well. And then now she lost her job. We can take into account that job lost and do everything we can on our side to make those adjustments. And if we can, award.
Is that pretty common? Do you see people come in where their parents have lost a job and you guys are able to help each kid according to their needs and what that looks like for their story? Because I know everyone has a different story. And what does finances look like? And I know even paying as a student, I know there can be a real struggle with that. So what do you guys do for students that are paying tuition all on their own, that their parents told them, hey, you want to go to college? You got to pay for it. And which is awesome. It's keeping them very independent. And then there's students where parents are able to help pay, had a college fund, are able to come up with money. So on both spectrums of that, most importantly, just the student paying on their own. What is there anything you guys do for that? Is there any money that goes into account with just a student paying and no parent help?
So that is a good question. And kind of going back to the beginning, as far as certain federal and state guidelines, there are times when that can and can't be taken into account. For example, if they want to complete the FAFSA with just their information, just because parent isn't helping them, they won't be able to do that. But there are different ways that a student can pay for college on their own. And it's going to be different than aid or ways a student pays for college with their parents' help. Like you had mentioned, some people have funds already set up by the time you're going to school. So if you're a student that is paying for college on your own, parents are able to contribute. I would recommend definitely completing the FAFSA so we can get you everything awarded that we can now. But also I would look into other opportunities and different resources on campus. So one example would be work study or student employment. So in those cases, we do have a website, rrsec.ttu.edu, stands for Red Raider Student Employment Center. And other schools have this exact same opportunity where you can get a job on or off campus and work as a student. And one of the benefits to that is it's usually, as far as Texas Tech, it's 20 hours or less per week. They know that you're a student first. They don't want you to work 40 hours a week and stress about your school. But they also know you're trying to pay your expenses, pay your tuition and fees. And that can really help out with making those payments if you need to help pay and budget for your year at Texas Tech. So earning your own income is definitely an option. I would also suggest that
Do you see that quite a bit where students?
Yes.
Do you see that quite a bit where the students are working like on campus and where you've actually had conversations with people and they're like, hey, this is how like I'm paying my money? Because I think that's awesome that they work with you also in hours and they're not like, hey, you're working 40 hours. Like there's no choice.
Exactly.
Like, I think that's really cool that they accommodate to that.
It really is. And it's a great opportunity. And we do see it all the time. And there's
plenty of
opportunities. Right. And I will say, just from personal experience, when I transferred to Texas Tech, I was also in a situation where I was doing a lot of the paying for income or extra expenses. And I was blessed and able to have an opportunity to work on campus. And I actually worked in the financial aid department. That's kind of why I'm here today a little bit. But I was there for 2 years as a student assistant. And the department was wonderful in helping me with school. If I had to go to class for an hour and then come back to work, they were like, that's fine, do what you need to do. So it's a great way to meet people on campus, to get some job experience, and also pay for the expenses that you have through the year. So it is a good opportunity, but some people don't even know it's out there. But just knowing it's there and you can apply for it. And you can also do things you're interested in. Each college has its own job opportunities, different departments. So there's not just one place that you can go and apply. There's all kinds of places on and off campus that you can work for to help pay for those expenses. And then I also wanted to mention Red to Black. It is personal finance planning students and teachers that help, I believe, but they can help students create a budget as well. I know that they do great in financing opportunities and helping, and it's students working with students, which is always helpful, knowing someone that could be in the same situation as you, or they're also in school.
Like you're relating.
Exactly. It's not just someone telling you.
Like feeling and just like, I think that's where people are afraid to like talk finances because they maybe want someone on the same like age level as them. And when you're able to have that like student to student and like budgeting, someone doing it for you, like that's awesome.
Yeah. And someone that's going to school for it and that's their passion. That's what they want to do. They're learning about it. Of course, like, I'll take that opportunity and let them help you out, because creating a budget's hard. I would say it's even hard
Even just in
being an
daily
adult.
life.
Yeah, I mean, figuring out what your daily spending is, what
Yes.
bills you have with school, what am I paying for? So that can help. Even breaking it down and seeing what you're paying for and what you need to budget for is going to make a big difference in helping pay for school.
So, Madison, do you know the cost of attendance for this fall of 2021? And if it went up, it went down, did it fluctuate? I think that's like a big question we all are waiting for to come around every year in the spring and the fall. Okay, how much is tuition? How much do I need a budget? So if you have like estimate numbers, exact numbers,
Yeah,
anything, but
I
yeah,
do have
please
some
share
good
with us.
estimates. And
Yay.
I'm also pulling this up on our financial aid webpage. So if
Yeah.
you need to go back and look at it, it is all right there for you.
Yes.
But here's an example of what tuition and fees was this year, 2020, 2021. And this is based off 15 hours, most expensive college of business, 11,600 for the year.
Okay.
Now, for this next coming year, 2021, 2022, tuition and fees, again, 15 hours, College of Business, is 11,852. So you can see a little bit of a slight difference in there. As far as specifics go and like what each class costs individually, Student Business Service is the best resource to use. And they are a team that works with billing, they work with waivers and exemptions. So if you want like an itemized receipt or you have specific questions about your bill or certain
Reach
things you're
out to
charged for.
Madison. Like,
So,
guys, Madison is a resource and she's so sweet and
yes.
easy to talk to. Like, guys need to reach out to
Thank
her.
you. That's very nice. I do this to
course.
help. I had told Kaylee I was a student before, and there
Yes.
were times when I was a student that I didn't realize I was supposed to do certain things. And I'm telling y'all, I was a student assistant in financial aid, and I still needed help. And it's because it's not first nature. It's not something that we studied all through our life or got information for, especially first generation students like you're talking about. So it's all
Nobody
brand
taught us.
new.
I feel like we went and blindsided. Like, I feel like your parents could prepare you as much as you could and you could budget, but at the end of the day, when you were up here in Lubbock alone and figuring it out as an adult, you were probably at some point thinking, okay, like I need to get my crop together. I need to figure this out. And it's making us very responsible. And we have people like Madison, all these different resources and people that have went through this. But I just wanted to say thank you so much, Madison, for coming on the show, talking all things finances. I know we just covered really great things, and we're going to have Madison back for part 2. So stay tuned. It will be down the road. We will talk more about grad students and what it looks like for you, loans, get more, in depth with loans and what that looks like as a college student coming in as a freshman, going through your senior year tuition. But I'm so glad that you were able to share your knowledge with everyone. Guys, please reach out to Madison. We will have everything listed in links after the show so you can go and look at resources. Don't wait to fill out your FAFSA and do it later. Do it October. Make a deadline. And so
yes,
that's very important. But thank you, Madison.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm glad I got to share some information and get it out there because that's my job and I want to help.
Yes, thank you so much.
Of course.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today on my second ever episode. This is crazy. I have so much in store for College Chaos. Every day, I think of something new and I write it down. I'm just with friends in the car writing little notes down like, okay, this is what I want to do next. I just thank you so much for your support. And what's to come for College Chaos that we're all excited for is Greek Life. I will be having guests from sororities and frats, not just from tech, but other universities, and talk about their experience during college. And I will have good stories about dorm life to come. And also, we're going to be mentioning game day because that's coming up in the fall. Hopefully everything looks normal, but I hope you guys have an amazing day and thank you so much. See you next time.